Welcome to another edition of Discover Monroe, an ongoing series in which we look at some of the beauty and uniqueness of Monroe County, West Virginia, and also look at some of the potential impacts of a 42-inch natural gas pipeline that has been proposed to cross through this area. I'm standing on top of Potts Mountain presently, and we're going to be hiking down into what is called Potts Creek Valley. And in the process, we're going to try to illustrate and focus on a number of potential areas that are of concern to us. As far as the Potts Creek Valley is concerned, it remained pretty much an isolated area into the early and late 1800s. And then at that time, the Industrial Revolution came to the area. At that time, due to iron ore being found in the northern part of the valley, a railroad was proposed to pass through the valley, to be built by the North and Western Company. And as part of this process, the railroad, which would start at the New River in Giles County, Virginia, would have to pass over a little ridge into the Potts Creek Valley and go all the way up to Paint Bank, where the company had set up facilities for the camps and the people who would be working in the iron ore business. A part of that process, which was a tragedy which may be relived today, was the condemnation of the property. Eminent domain took place back at that time in 1905. The companies sued the landowners who were reluctant to turn their properties over for this railroad development, and eventually won in court, and the properties were taken in by eminent domain. It's ironic that a little over 100 years later on, we're going through the same process with landowners who are reluctant to give up their land for the Mountain Valley Pipeline. We're going to descend on down the mountain here now and look at some of the areas that will be impacted. We're standing on top of Potts Mountain, and we're looking to the east now into the next valley over, the Potts Valley, and in the distance is Johns Creek Mountain. The Appalachian Trail winds its way along part of Johns Creek Mountain, and you'll also see another ridge there in the distance where the Audie Murphy Memorial is located. Audie Murphy was a distinguished World War II veteran who won the Medal of Honor and was later a movie star, and his plane crashed near the Appalachian Trail at that area. And the pipeline route that has been proposed will pass very close to that if it is built, so it is an area of major concern. But once again, you can see the beauty of this region and another reason for concern about the pipeline. We're continuing on down Potts Mountain now, and we stopped here at a little spring. As mentioned in the previous episode, on Peters Mountain, both these mountains have numerous places where water leaves the mountain. They both act as large reservoirs of water, and the water enters the mountains through various openings and is distributed out the sides of the mountains in springs that might be located in many, many different locations. And as you can see here, with this particular spring, it just sort of pops out the side of the hill. And these springs, this water source, is a major concern for us as far as this proposed pipeline routing.
Hold on, let me get it out. All right, Frog.
As was the case on Peters Mountain, Potts Mountain is geologically problematic too as far as any type of construction project as that's proposed. You can see here the rock outcroppings that exist, and they are found all along the mountainside and do present the situation wherein some type of blasting will be required to get through them. And of course, once the blasting takes place, there is really no way to predict what the consequences will be as far as the water sources underlying the mountain. still descending Potts Mountain down to the valley, and as you can see in this particular area right here, the rock outcroppings, these are representative of the mountainside and are especially problematic as far as the pipeline routing is concerned. And unfortunately, most of the mountainside will be like this. There will be substantial problems as far as rocks. Even where you don't see them surfacing, they will be close to the ground surface and will be a constant situation. We're here a little bit further down Potts Mountain into a little bit of a valley here, and we're on the water surface area for Ray's Siding, which is a tributary of Potts Creek. And as you see, it comes out of the mountainside here. It's a very beautiful little babbling brook, so to speak, and it is typical of the water sources along the Potts Mountain front as well as Peters Mountain.
Yeah. He's a beauty.
He's
a good sport. Well, he's really a good sport. Going along with all this nonsense.
It'd be like Smokey the Bear.
Okay.
We're a little bit further down the mountain now. This is the main branch of Ray's Fork near its source waters. And as I mentioned previously, this stream flows into Potts Creek and is a substantial part of Potts Creek during the winter time, especially when this stream will be much higher than it is right now due to the melting of snow and rainfall. He says, I'm not that stupid. We've traveled a little bit further down Potts Mountain, and we are closing in on the Potts Valley and the Waiteville area. And we have another little stream coming out of the side of the mountain here, which you can see. And as I pointed out before, this is very much the pattern here along this mountain front and Peters Mountain as well. Just a large number of springs coming out of the mountains, which does indicate that it is a substantial source of water. And the source of water, this particular spring here, runs into the South Fork of the Potts Creek, which we'll talk about a little bit later because of its importance in a number of ways. We've now reached the point where the old Potts Valley Railroad went through the valley here. We're on the old grade, and we are about a half mile or so below Ray's Siding, where the railroad went down the mountain. It made a very sharp turn to get down to Waiteville due to the fact that it had to drop a substantial number of feet, and they had to have a minimal grade in that process. This section has not been included in the rails to trail part of the program as of yet, but it's my understanding that it will be included in the future, and it is an area of concern because it is used extensively with bikers and hikers as well. We're a little bit further down the mountain now. We're almost to the valley floor in the Waiteville area, and we're crossing the old railroad right away once again. As I mentioned previously, the railroad, in order to get down to the bottom here, due to the steepness of the mountain, had to do a switchback out to the left of me, and then it came back through here once again in order to get down closer to the valley floor. So what this indicates is that the pipeline routing does cross this old railroad grade in two locations, and that is certainly a concern because there are plans to have this whole grade, this whole railroad grade, turned into a rails to trails project in the future, although part of it now is all that is included. We're at the bottom of the mountain now and getting ready to cross through some old farm fields. And as you see here, an old stone fence that I don't know how long ago it would have been built, but With the amount of stone in this area, they were certainly used quite extensively back in the early days of history of this area.
Okay.
We've now reached the bottom and are entering the valley and the farmland in the Waiteville area. The little community of Waiteville is just about half a mile up the road, and soon we'll be crossing the South Fork of Potts Creek. As you can see, it is a very beautiful countryside, and it's pretty much undeveloped over time as far as any type of commercial or other type activity. So it is a pristine and unique place that should be preserved. We're at the bottom of the mountain now and close to the main road, Ray Siding Road, which we'll be crossing shortly. And we have here an old pond that was built based upon that spring that came out of the mountain we passed a little while ago. And as you can see, it's running rather a little bit low now, and the water, the spring, it does cross here and cross the road and feeds into the creek, which we will pass a little bit further on down. I think there's a way through. We're now on what is called the Ray Siding Road, which runs between Waiteville and goes a little bit south of the town. It's called Ray Siding Road because at one point in time when the railroad was in operation, it was used as a siding. Part of it was. Siding was a location where the train could pull off of the main rail and unload or do other activities that they couldn't do on the main track. Immediately behind us is a big farm field that the trail will go through, and up on top of the mountain to the rear of us, Peters Mountain, you can almost see the tower that we started at in our last episode. So we are nearing the point at which we would be crossing the main road through Waiteville and getting close to the old depot, the Waitsville depot that served the railroad that came through back in the 20s. I'm standing in front of the old Waiteville depot. As I mentioned when we started this hike today, back in the 20s, when the railroad came through the area, the railroad extended from here to Paint Bank, Virginia, primarily to get the iron ore from this area out to where it could be used later on. Unfortunately, back in the 20s also, due to cheaper iron ore, which was more readily available in the Great Lakes region, the iron ore situation, the business did not work out, so to speak. But what they did find here was an abundance of virgin timber. So timber became the predominant source of revenue for the railroad builders, and the whole valley was pretty much stripped as far as the timber is concerned, both sides of the road, Peters and Potts Mountain. In 1932, after the timber was gone, of course, the railroad closed. And some of what is left of the railroad can still be seen today in the old railroad grade, which passes behind me between here and Paint Bank 13 miles up the road. Due to it being a very level road and a wide road with very little steepness or terrain in it, it is a very popular road now for bicyclers and for motorcycles. So it is used extensively. We're standing here at the bridge on Ray Siding Road, looking north on the South Fork of Potts Creek. Potts Creek is a 46-mile stream that starts here in the Potts Creek Valley and eventually winds its way up to join the Jackson River in Covington, Virginia, which goes on to join the James and enters in the Atlantic Ocean finally. And the stream has been very important for the folks in this valley over the years, besides providing water for the homes and for the families. It has also been a major source of fishing in the area. The alternate route that's been proposed by the Mountain Valley Pipeline is scheduled to cross this stream, and there is major concern involving this. This small stream is home to two mussel species, that one of which is endangered and protected by federal law, the James spiny mussel. And in recent years, it's become stressed even more due to increased sedimentation in the stream. The concern is that the pipeline construction will increase this sedimentation and disturb the population even more, changing the habitat so that the entire population may be destroyed in the long run. As we looked at the steep terrain on the sides of these mountains here, one major rainfall during the excavation process could overwhelm the sediment controls that are in place there, resulting in a major amount of sediment entering this stream as a result of washdown from the mountainsides. And these particular type of mussels would not be able to survive. Also, several sea species classified by the West Virginia Department of Natural Resources as species in greatest conservation need are found in this vicinity, and they include the Allegheny wood rat, the Appalachian cottontail, the Indiana bat, the northern long-eared bat, the James spiny mussel, the Valley and Ridge salamander, and just to name a few. And the concern, of course, is that a project of this size and this magnitude could have a major effect on these populations for years to come. Another concern is herbicides that would be used to maintain the right-of-way may have an effect on the population as well. I'd like to thank you for coming along on this second episode of Discover Monroe. And as at the ending of the first episode, I would like also to try to get you to get in touch with us, either at preservemonroe.org or savemonroe.org. And if you want to get involved, we have plenty to do for volunteers. Also, if you'd like to make a monetary donation, we can certainly use the money, because it will be a very expensive process that we are involved in down the road here. And stay tuned for episode number 3, in which we will look at other locations on the proposed Mountain Valley pipeline routing and bring to your attention more of the impacts that we are concerned about. Have a good day.